Yo, it's Elut, and welcome back to my Forced Units Only hard mode run of Radiant Dawn. Today we're doing Part 3, Chapter 11, so we're almost done, Part 3, only a few more chapters to go. We're still with the Grail Mercs, still Ike solo run, sometimes. Feels that way, at least. We actually do get some extra units in this one, but, I mean, I don't really hold either of them in a very high manner. I'm not really a big fan. We'll talk about them more when they come up. But all Ike really needs here is healing items. I gave him an iron sword out of habit, but that part's actually not necessary. Because as soon as we leave the base here, we just get Ranulf, which is an 18 might sword. That also gives him plus 5 defense, has 1-2 range, and has infinite uses. So pretty busted. And we're also taking skills off of him, also kind of out of habit. Honestly, I could have given him celerity here to make this like maybe a little bit faster, but I didn't want to run the risk of loading him up with a bunch of scary skills and then have to maybe deal with it in a defend map later. It turned out to be totally fine. The worst thing you could do, I think, is to give Ike pass here. Anything else is like much easier to deal with than pass is later on. But yeah, there's Ranulf. That's all we need. The iron sword tip, that's given out a lot. So like, before you finish 311, make sure Ike has an iron sword equipped. And I get why people give out that advice, but it really only matters if you're planning on killing Ike as a boss in that defend map in 313. If you're not planning on killing him as a boss, like to speed up the chapter, it really doesn't matter, because as soon as he starts to move, he'll just equip Ranulf anyways. So that part doesn't matter. But the skills sometimes matters more. So we, just to not run into any risky situations later, we took everything off him. But he really doesn't need anything. I mean, he's just going to roll everything, pretty much. The limiting factor here is going to be the 7 move. And we do have 2 new units, so as per usual, Ike and Ranulf are both forced. But we also have Sigrun and Tanith forced here. And honestly, looking back, I feel like I could have maybe done more with them for this chapter. Tanith is actually not forced ever again, but Sigrun is. And Sigrun comes in clutch in part 4 a little bit. But I kind of figured that it might just be a little easier, maybe a little more brain dead, to just walk up Ike by himself. And, you know, not think, I guess. So that's why I did that. Nothing really too crazy going on here. It's pretty chill. Also, I always found that funny. That bishop there has a rescue staff that cannot be stolen. It would be cool if it could be stolen, but oh well. And then right there, as you saw, as soon as we cross a vertical line on the map, Leanne will show up as a blue unit, and Tabarn will show up as a yellow partner unit. I kind of just let Tabarn do his thing for a while, because, I mean, he does kill things, he obliterates things, and most of the time he doesn't even get hit. So, you know, why not? Let him go nuts. We like Tabarn. The only thing you have to watch out for, potentially with Tabarn in general, is crossbows. And, like, yeah, bows are bad for flyers, but crossbows are much worse, because crossbows, the damage you do is purely based on the weapon might. Your strength as a unit is not taken into account. So these crossbows will have, like, you know, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 might, some of them. Some of them have, I think the highest might one is like 34, or maybe it's like 36. So you multiply that by 3 in the combat window, and it's, like, actually insane. On the off chance that they do hit, a crossbow can be disgusting. But for the most part, Tabarn is basically invincible. And then the other thing that I have to talk about that is more pertaining to the map in general is there are pitfalls all around the map. And no, you're not watching a mecha video. And they're kind of annoying because in FE9, it's very easy to avoid them with grounded units and just, like, you know, go on your way, not worry about it, as long as you know where they are. But in this one, there are actually a few places where you kind of have no choice but to go and just, you know, take a hit with the pitfall and be stuck there for a turn. They have shine barriers there, which makes it even more annoying. But as you'll see, like, above where Tabarn is right now, going right, there are pitfalls there. I believe there's, like, a layer of 2, so you'll have to hit one there. And then to the left of that partner unit that just moved, there's also a pitfall there. And there is a way in both FE9 and FE10 where you can bypass pitfalls. And the way you do that is you place a flyer on the pitfall space, because they're not gonna be sunk into it, they're flying. And then you just pass through that unit with a grounded unit like Ike or Ranulf or something. And they don't get stuck. Here I was thinking, like, alright, you know what, maybe the flyers will be helpful here. But Tanith, like, almost died. And I was like, yeah, and I kinda would just rather not think, to be honest. It's kinda lame, I admit it. It's kinda lame. I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but I just wanted to turn my brain off, I guess. I don't think this chapter is super interesting. Anyways, I prefer the FE9 version, but that's not really saying much. But yeah, so I'm just like, nah, let's just get out of here. It's not like anybody else has to get to the end of the map except for Ike. Because it is a seas map, so it's whatever. It's fine. We're chilling. Not really a big deal. And I'm trading Volns. The Tellius special, thank you. And I think I forgot to mention too, if Tabarn does die, it is a game over. Fat chance of that, you'd have to really kind of try. We push him for as long as possible, and then we just send him back once he actually gets low. But it takes so much for him to actually get there that it's fine. So we heal here. It's unfortunate we weren't, like, one space up, and then we could have taken maybe the pitfall here, but we also had to heal, so I guess it's fine. I guess it's okay. Yeah, shine barrier there. So you can infer that by those mages there are more pitfalls as well, which is why we're going to take the top path once we get through this first little layer here. They do position enemies in a smart way there, with how the pitfalls are placed and stuff. You might think, like, oh, they're front lining with a mage, easy, but then you run into a pitfall, you're like, oh, fuck. It's actually kind of nice in a normal run to have Shine in on this map. That's part of why I like using him. It's not the main reason. But he's kind of nice because I usually have him promoted by here to tier 3. And then he has 3 range. And his accuracy is always pretty good anyway. So he just snipes them for free across the thing. And then I can put flyers there and, like, ferry everybody else over. But this map is kind of a long one. And as you saw with the Swordmaster there on Ike, the official condition that you are given when falling into a pit is paralyzed, and it's basically like being slept. Essentially, you don't counterattack and you get hit by everything, but it doesn't, like, lower your stats in any meaningful way. Like, your defense and everything is still the same. So we just have to sit here for one turn. It's not really that big of a deal. The mages aren't going to move, like I said, because there are pitfalls there. So 1 Swordmaster, you know, big whoop. Not really all that scary. And Tabarn actually getting a lot of this out of the way for us, which I really appreciate. It definitely does help. That dude's busted. Of course, we aren't doubling now. That's unfortunate. But, you know, maybe this wasn't an Ike solo run chapter. This is a Tabarn solo run. It's fine with me. Alright, there's a crossbow. Yeah, 52. Yep. That's crossbows for you. That's crossbows for you. Yeah, they have an interesting niche in Radiant Dawn. I kind of wish crossbows came back in other games. I think that could have been cool. Because, you know, it's worse against regular units because you're not taking your strength into account, even though they have high might, so it's normally not worth it. But then you also have things like, you know, you have 1 to 2 range instead of just having 2 range. Things like that are cool. And then just like the massive damage boost against flyers on crossbows is like kind of cool. And then the accuracy is like pretty good too, usually. It's interesting. I wish we would have seen them somewhere else. Another pitfall, but we want to keep it moving. I couldn't remember exactly where the pitfalls were there. I don't know if we could have avoided them or not. I know there aren't any in front of those 2 armor knights there on that choke. We'll be fine once we get there, but not my favorite. Not my favorite. Yeah, like here, we're totally fine. You would think that there would be pitfalls there, and honestly, I think when I first played the game, I was surprised that there weren't, with all the other ones and how they're placed. You know, you'd think on, like, the last little choke point before the boss, there'd be some, but nope. I maybe should have killed him instead. I guess it's fine now. Either way, would have ended up the same, but objectively, maybe should have killed him first. Alright, but once you get past that little choke, there aren't any more pitfalls, so thank God for that. We're almost out of here. Just gotta watch some of these mages, of course. He should be fine. in general, but, you know, something to look out for. Man, I'm just so happy we got Ragnell now. That's always such a good feeling, like, in FE9 or FE10. FE9, it's like, it's kind of more relieving, because you're not with it for longer. But in this game, it's just as nice when you see it again. It's like, I can finally fucking retaliate. Beautiful. Not to mention all the other stuff I said, like, you know, 18 fucking might, and, you know, the +5 defense. That stuff's all cool, too, but... Oh, rip. Crit. Yikers. Yeah, and there's the second best crossbow in the game, if I'm not mistaken. I believe the best one is in Part 4. That should be the second highest might. Alright, we seize after equipping our iron sword, again, out of habit. Not necessary, just out of habit. But yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you next time.